Hey everyone, here's another video, something a little bit different. This is actually a look at the Ecobee3 Smart Thermostat. So you probably heard of a lot of other smart thermostats that are coming out, like the Nest and Honeywell are getting into it as well. This one is, from what I've researched online, one that has a lot of really great reviews. I mean, the Nest, when it came out, it had great reviews too. And then as people started to use it, they found there was, a lot of issues with it. So, Ecobee3 here has kind of come after. Nest has been out for a while and probably has seen and been able to learn from a lot of Nest issues that have come up with customers. And I mean, Ecobee3, Ecobee, I should say, has been around for a while. I mean, Nest was kind of new, but Ecobee has been around for a while, and a lot of professionals have used Ecobee in the past, and it's only now with the Ecobee3 that a lot of people now can actually go into a store and actually buy one of their thermostats. And yeah, so this is the front of the box. Let's open it up and have a look at it. So once we have everything unpacked, we can see the contents of what was in the box. So right there, we have the actual Ecobee, and that's your thermostat. And you can kind of see with the light, where the actual screen is in the center there. And next to it, we have the actual back piece. So this is what you're going to mount over your existing thermostat spot on your wall and do your wiring. So you can see on the left and the right hand side you have the different areas where your wiring is going to go. So this is part of what's going to make the process longer. So right here we have what they call an extender kit, or a PEC. So this is used if you do not have a C-wire that is coming out of your wall, going from your setup to the back of the thermostat. I do not have a C-wire, and I'm going to show you that with the wiring, so I'm going to have to use this, and I'm going to actually have to hook this up to the control board of my furnace. So I'll show you that when we get there. This actually comes with a neat thing that like a lot of the other smart thermostats don't have, and it's a sensor, and that's what this thing is right here. And basically what you do with this sensor is you can put it in any room or area of your house, and it will communicate with the Ecobee here. So the thermostat can only read that section, right? So what this aims to do is you can pair up to 32 of these, and they're wireless. So they can communicate with the Ecobee and actually, say, well, even though the temperature is, 20 degrees, it's not 20 degrees here, so you need to, actually run more because, we want this room to be adjusted for the temperature as well. So stuff like that. You can have up to 32. So I mean, if you have a huge house, now the only thing is, these sensors, it only comes with one. Yeah. So that's the contents. There's your backplate. So this is what you actually mount the Ecobee on with the wall. Now this is bigger, and this is for mainly if when you take the old thermostat off, you're going to have a bunch of screws and things in the wall that you might not want to see. You want to hide the ugly, essentially, right? And rather than it's basically if you want to be lazy and you don't want to fill those in. So this is used if you have to hide those in a bigger area, depending on how big your old thermostat is. But actually, you could mount the Ecobee as it is directly onto that. This is your instruction manuals and things like that. This comes actually with really handy things, so you can actually label the wires both at the back here, because what you're going to need to do is you're going to need to know when you unhook your old thermostat where everything is supposed to go, right? Because even though the wires are colored, they're not always standard. Depending on who did the system, they might have not, done the wires to the actual color that typically these, the G and the Y's are. So it's always safe to wire them before you unhook anything. So I will be doing that, and I will be doing that at the control board level, as I will have to do some adjustments there, and I don't want to forget anything. Of course, always take a photo always have a camera so you can have a visual reference as well. So let's take the old thermostat off and have a look. Okay, so there is my old thermostat that is still on. Now, before proceeding with doing any changes to your thermostat in such a way that you have to take it apart and everything, you want to turn off the main power that goes to your furnace and your AC and the thermostat. So I've done that, so this is safe to remove. Now you're probably wondering, well, if the power is off, why is it still you know, reading? That's because this thermostat is battery powered. So let's just take it off here. Shouldn't be too hard to take off. They usually just snap on. So as you can see here, there is my wiring situation. So you can see I have I have two reds actually. More on that a little bit later. I have two reds, I have a white, I have a green, and a black. I'm missing a critical wire connection here. I am missing the C wire. I have every other wire here that I need to make the new thermostat work, but I don't have a C. And the C wire is important because it is what provides constant power to the Ecobee. So you can't run the Ecobee off just batteries like with old thermostats. Like with the Nest doesn't require a C, but that's because they're doing some different things. They're not providing constant power to the Nest. They're using the existing wires to provide power, but the Nest is not always on, whereas the Ecobee is on all the time. So yeah, so this is my situation. So what I have to do here essentially is I have to take my labels out, identify the wires so I know exactly what they are, so when I unhook this, I know where everything is to go with the new Ecobee. So as you can see with the size of my plate there, my back plate with the thermostat, I do think I'm definitely gonna need to use that bigger back piece, which is kind of a shame because it means that it's gonna stand out a little bit more. But eventually I will fill in those holes, but for now, just for the purpose of getting things up quickly, I'm gonna use it. So now what I'm gonna do though is I'm gonna show you my actual furnace, the control panel, and everything to do with this power extender PEC component. Hey guys, so here's my control board in my furnace with the wiring. I'm actually using my iPhone for light here, so I'm hoping to be as steady as possible and not lose focus. So as you can see, here's all the wires. The majority of these wires are going from my thermostat into the control board. But as you can see here, I have a unique situation where I have two blacks going into the bottom one. That is actually two Y cables. So in my case, what I have to do here is I actually only one of those black cables goes to the thermostat and the other one is going someplace else. The white wire at the top is actually where my C connection would be if I in fact had a C going to the thermostat. So even though it's showing that I have a connection there, that is actually going from my air conditioning outside. So that wire that is going into C is actually not going to my thermostat. So that's where I have to use the power extender in my situation. So what I actually have to do here is I actually have to unhook the red, the green, one of the blacks, and actually hook that into the PEC. I'm keeping one black in at the bottom, the white stays at the top, and then I actually have to add some wires from the PEC here into those spots to replace them. And then what I do is I connect these wires into the PEC as well. Now it seems complicated, but I'm gonna show you a diagram essentially that shows how my wiring situation is gonna be when all is said and done. And I've gone out of focus. So here we have the Ecobee3 set up and mounted. As you can see, there's power going to the Ecobee, and as you can see, I also had to use the provided mount to hide some of the ugly left over from my old thermostat. But as you can see over there around the corners, I'm going to have to do a little bit of fixing up, but it's okay. I'm going to be repainting this room anyway, so it doesn't really matter. We'll live with it for now. It'll be fixed in a few weeks anyway. So yeah, so I've already got it scheduled and you know, set to where I want it. I actually have it turned off right now because I don't know, it's the temperature really right now is quite pleasant. I don't really need the AC or the heat on, so I just turned it off. So you can actually do that. You can override your schedule if you want and just manually go on there and turn the you know, the scheduler off to match what you want. So what I'm gonna do, because I think it's gonna be a lot easier, is I'm gonna actually attempt to show you how I can control this actually from my computer. So this is the screen that you see when you log in and you've registered your Ecobee with the Ecobee website. So actually on the unit itself, when you finish the process, it'll give you a verification code, and then you go to their website, and when you sign up, it's going to ask you for the code. And then once you put that code in, it'll identify the unit and where it is. So it's kind of neat, actually. So as you can see, this basically is the same. This is actually, you see more than you would obviously on the little small screen on the Ecobee thermostat. So, you know, there you can see where it says that the unit is off, and it's actually reading the temperature, so it just went up a little bit there. And you can see that the unit is off. So, I mean, if I wanted to, I could actually, you know, go over here and turn it on. So home and hold essentially would, there's three modes. There's home, away, and sleep. So obviously home is for when you're actually at home, and that's the temperature. It'll, you know, what you set it for the, you know, the heat or the cold. It's determined on what you set it at under that that profile. And then away is, you know, obviously if you're, you know, not at the house, if you're at work, if you know you're going to be away for a few days, so you know you would set it to that. And then sleep. Sleep doesn't show up for some reason on the quick changes, which, you know, maybe it should, you know, but you can still schedule it. So the idea being, you know, with the scheduler, which I guess is what I'll show next, because I think it's probably the most important thing and why I really got this. So you can see here's my schedule right now. By default, Ecobee will give you what their recommended temperatures are and things like that. So I mean, chances are though it's not going to fit your schedule. So what I actually did here is I set it up, as you can see, with the home, away, and then there is another one for when I'm back home. Move this down. So we have sleep, home, away, home, and then sleep. So you can see the different times. So from the beginning, it's going to know that I'm at home typically during the week. I usually wake up around, say, 7 o'clock. So I set it for 6:30 for the schedule to kick on, whether for the heat or the cold. I'm out of the house usually, well, before 9, but from 9 to essentially 6 o'clock, I'm not here. So I set it for that I'm away from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. So I'm usually home by 6. I actually finish around 5:30, but I'm home by 6. So what's neat about this, and then obviously you can see I have the sleep mode is set for 11:30. So what's neat about this is that Ecobee will know, based on this schedule, that I'm, you know, coming home at 6. So what it'll actually do is, to prepare for me to come home, it'll heat the house or cool the house to my desired temperature, and by the time I get home, it'll actually be what it should be, which is what's set over here. So as you can see, with my away temperature for the heat, I have it set for 50. This is all in Celsius, so sorry if you guys prefer, you know, Fahrenheit. I prefer Celsius, but you know, 15 15 degrees Celsius is what I have it set for the heat when I'm not here. And then for the AC, I have it for 26. Now, by default, I think Ecobee did set it at 15, but it actually had the AC set up to 28, which I thought was a little too high. Because the other thing is, you don't want to let your house get really hot when you're away, and you don't want it to get really cold, really cold, because you shouldn't have that much variation in temperature, because then what you're doing is it's going to have to work harder to get to the temperatures if you have it too far away. So to really get energy savings that you want, you really have to have a more smaller difference between the temperatures that you want from when you're away and then from when you're home. So when I'm home, I have the heat set at 20 degrees, and then the AC is 23. When we're sleeping, I have it go back down to 15. Because the idea with in the wintertime, you have blankets, things like that. So you shouldn't need to have the heat on too high at night. And then the same thing with the AC during the night. I have it go up a little bit. So now we went over the scheduler a little bit. I mean, you can have a very complicated schedule. So I mean, mine is not so complicated, I don't think. I did forget to go actually to show that, obviously I don't work Saturday and Sunday, I'm usually home, so obviously I don't have an away period from when I'm, on the weekend, because I'm usually here. Now, however, that being said, Ecobee does have an option that lets you, there's a sensor on the actual Ecobee, so if you have a schedule and you deviate from your schedule, it's going to know based on the sensor that for example, if you're not supposed to be home during your away period, but you do come home, say for lunch, say for your lunch hour or something, the sensor will know and adapt and know that, typically you come home, during that time, so it's gonna, adjust the temperature so that for your home temperature, because it knows that you're home for that period of time. And then once you leave again, it'll go back to your scheduler. So it's kind of neat. It's smart, and that's why they call it a smart thermostat, because it can do that. Like, a regular $20 or $30 thermostat wouldn't be able to do that. So the other thing here you can do, obviously, have your weather, so you can connect it to your location. I can also read the weather and everything on the actual thermostat as well. If I click that, it would actually give me a forecast and things like that. But so that's kind of neat. The vacation thing is just as it is. If you go away for a vacation, you can put your vacation period in here. So then, again, this is deviating from your schedule. So the vacation is handy if you go away for a week. Obviously, you want to have the house not as cool or as hot, right? So that's handy. The home IQ basically is a reporting system. So it won't show anything because it's brand new. It needs at least a month to be able to get statistics on. Basically, it's going to tell you how the system's been running and things like that. How much energy you're saving and that kind of information. Reminders and alerts is kind of handy. Under the settings, we have obviously you can adjust the time and your location, and preferences has a bunch of things. So you can actually, there's where you would set your whether you want it to be in Celsius or Fahrenheit, thermostat name, and just the heat range, the cold range. I think I might have missed a few settings there actually. Property characteristics are not so important. It's basically going to ask you, how many square feet do you have, how many levels. I don't know if that information is really important to how it runs the system. Access control is obviously if you want only certain people to have access to the thermostat. So people are not tinkering and things like that. So I'm gonna kind of close this off with kind of like my final impressions and recommendations. But like, I mean, I've only used it for a couple days, so I don't want to say that this thing is a game changer. I mean, I do think this is where things are going. More, like there's lots of other companies that are now going the smart thermostat route. Obviously, the Nest was probably one of the more bigger ones that kind of introduced things. But even then, before that, there were thermostats that were doing things more advanced than a lot of other ones. But Nest was really the one that kind of got a lot of, publicity, and everyone was talking about it. But Nest at first had well, they had issues, right? They actually have made another generation of the Nest, because the first one had a bunch of issues, and even then with the second generation, a lot of people are having problems. So I mean, the same thing with Ecobee. Ecobee, apparently when the Ecobee3 came out, it had a few issues as well, but they've updated them and they fixed a lot of things, and there's they say there's lots of more functions coming, which is good. So $250 is a lot of money to spend on a thermostat. I mean, it's comparable to what a lot of other ones are priced at. I mean, the Nest is priced, I'm pretty sure, the exact same. And then the Honeywell Leica, I believe it's called, is pretty much the same as well. And then, I mean, they all have kind of the same features. But like, the Ecobee3 has been getting a lot of praise from people, especially since when they resolved a few kinks in the initial launch with some firmware updates and things like that. So, I would definitely say if you're looking for a smart thermostat, the Ecobee3 does seem to be the best one, and just because, I mean, the reviews are better than everyone else's that I've read, and from the comments I've read of people who actually use it, it's gotten a lot more praise. You look up Nest and you're gonna find some scary things, like people talking about how they had to they spent thousands of dollars because it actually did some serious damage. Now whether or not those reports are true, I don't know, because the Nest, the other thing with the Nest was that from what I was reading, was it had a lot of issues with not actually keeping the temperatures that you want, and there was a lot of deviation from what you were setting it to. So, and it would just kind of even though you tell it what to do, or it's supposed to be really smart and know what to do, it just was not pleasant. People are complaining that it was too hot or it was too cold and things like that. So once I have, more experience with this, I'll have a more final recommendation. But I mean, I would definitely say if you're looking for a smart thermostat, I would rank it, Ecobee3 is probably the best one right now. The Honeywell Leica has gotten pretty good reviews. But I mean, a lot of people have been kind of going with Ecobee from what I've seen. And then the Nest is kind of the last one that I would say. I would probably avoid the Nest. I mean, I was initially thinking about the Nest, but until I read a lot of bad things about it. Yeah, and I mean, Ecobee3, like Ecobee as a company, has been around a lot longer too. Like Honeywell and Ecobee, they've been around for a while, especially Honeywell. So I'm more trusting of people that have been around longer too. So I mean, Nest was kind of small, and then they did a bunch of crowdfunding and things like that. So, they're probably not as big of a company as the other guys, right? So they don't have as much support. So yeah, definitely check it out. I mean, at least try it, hook it up. You can return it. Most places let you return things, so try it out for a month. Or just however long you can return for, and see if you like it. But yeah, don't expect huge savings at the beginning. It's doesn't work that way. No thermostat can magically reduce your bills like that in so much so quickly. So it is a long-term investment. Yeah. So I mean, if you have questions, put them in the comments. If I have time, I'll answer them, or maybe other people who also have it can give their opinion on what they think of this. I'd certainly love to hear about it.